Buonasera, buonasera a tutti. Sono Goran Dević, direttore artistico del Museo MAXXI. Good evening, everyone. I'm Goran Dević, the artistic director of MAXXI Museum in Rome. This evening, I would like to introduce you to a group of fantastic artists and curators from the ex-Yugoslavian countries who at the moment are having a very important exhibition at the museum about the heroic voices from this region, all the ex-country of Yugoslavia. Now it's been divided into several smaller countries, and they're going through a process of reconstruction of the relationship among them, also in relation to Europe and to the Mediterranean region. And this project is called Bigger Than Myself, the Heroic Voices from Ex-Yugoslavia. And this evening we have Zdenka Badovinac, who's the curator and also director of the National Museum of Modern Art in Ljubljana. And then we have the artist who also is a very influential figure in the scene, is Anja Medved. And then, of course, we have also Igor Grubić and Goran Dević. They are going to have a conversation among them. And this exhibition has been prepared for the last, let's say, 3 years with Zdenka and also our curator, Giulia Ferracci, and our team at the MAXXI, and of course, with the assistance of many activists, many active curators, artists, associations, intellectuals, cultural workers from the region to really come up with a very important project. This project also has been a continuation of the MAXXI research line that trying to explore this interaction between different sides of the Mediterranean region, how the geopolitical and cultural movements in this region has been a very important force of formation for today's European cultural identity and reality. And of course, it continues to have a very important impact on the future of this region and therefore of the world. And the artistic scene being a part of this very dynamic movement, change, plays always a very important role as a critical force, as a creator of a space for reflection and debate and proposals, and also to bring a new imagination, new visions for the change in the upcoming future. And this is a very important, aspect of how we also try to go confront with the challenging reality today after the pandemic, after all kind of political conflicts and instability, and now together with the contribution of artistic creators, artists, we try to confront with this new challenge. And now let me invite Zdenka to start the conversation with her troupe. Thank you, Zdenka.
Okay, buonasera. Good evening. Thank you very much, Handru, for this very nice introduction. We are all very happy to participate in this Zoom program that accompanies a film program related to the exhibition Bigger Than Myself that, as Handru said, present the artists from ex-Yugoslavia. And I selected for this program, for the film program, 3 artists, and they are all with us at the moment. And let me very shortly introduce them to you, and then I will give them also, of course, the word in the same order as I will be mentioning them now. So first, Igor Grubić will talk about his films. Those who are in Rome will be able to see, of course, in the museum. So Igor Grubić is one of the most important contemporary artists from Croatia. His works include site-specific interventions in public spaces, photography, and film. Igor also represented Croatia in the last Venice Biennial. And the next one will be Anja Medved. Anja is Slovene filmmaker and screenwriter who lives in Nova Gorica, and her films are very strongly related to this very specific town at the very border with Italy. So it's very interesting to have her and her mother's films. Her mother, Nadia Velušček, often works and collaborates with Anja. So they did together many documentaries related to this modernist town, Nova Gorica. And the third one is Goran Dević, a Croatian film director and screenwriter who was born in Sisak, very important, but now he works and lives in Zagreb. The films that we together selected for this program are related to Sisak, and that's why I want to emphasize that he was also born there. So Goran is, of course, film director, and his films were also awarded and nominated for a very important awards. So I did this selection following the idea of loss and change, which obviously goes to the experience of dissolution of former Yugoslavia and of socialism, about, of course, what we have now, the global capitalism, integration in European Union, and so on. So, as I said, all 3 film directors, they are somehow situated. Their films are situated in their own environments on a different way. So Igor Grubić, who will talk first, his films are very much about the monuments, the partisan monuments to anti-fascist struggle in the Second World War, the heroic partisans, the victims of the Second World War. So in former Yugoslavia, many partisan, we call them partisan monuments, spomenici. I recognized after the exhibition in MoMA about the Yugoslav architecture was presented among the architectural buildings, also the monuments were there. So, and then I recognized that the Serbo-Croatian term spomenici really became a term that has been used also in English-speaking theories now. So it's very telling, and about importance and uniqueness of the monuments. Most of them, they are the ones that still are and not destroyed. So Igor will talk about how many they were destroyed in the 90s, and this is also one of the reasons that Igor did the films. So most of those monuments are abstract modernist work between sculpture and architecture. So they are normally in remote places in the nature. So Igor also plays with this idea, the relation with the nature very much about this transition, not only transition of our society, but also of nature. So he connects these different aspects in his films. And then, of course, Anya and Goran, as I mentioned before, they are more about the idea of change placing in their own towns. So Anya Medved and Anya Belushchek relates to the Nova Gorica. Nova Gorica was built after Gorizia, which is now Italian town, belonged to Italy after the Paris Peace Treaty in 1945. The city of Gorizia, with a very large part of Slovene population, belonged to Italy, and the natural hinterland of the city belonged to Yugoslavia. That's why Yugoslav authorities actually built the new city, and the new city is something very typical, let's say, for socialist country with the modernist architecture. The the ideology somehow wanted also to break all the memories with the past, and also the modernist architecture was the best to for the workers, the many, we normally speak about the socialist blocks, about the socialist modernism. So Nova Gorizia is fantastic city to speculate all these ideas about it. And of course, Anya also talks not only about the architecture and this concept of the new city, but also and mostly about the people from the border and their memories. So this is very important aspect of her work, I would say. And then Goran Dević, I mentioned before, relates his works mostly to, not mostly, but at least in this, in the films that we selected for this film program about his hometown, Sisak. So if Nova Gorica served as a symbol of modernity, let's say, let's call it like that, in the socialist time, then Sisak was a symbol of its industry and a symbol of heroic workers. We call them udarniks, and one of Goran's films is also about the udarnik, and this is of course also the name of his film. So he will talk, I'm sure, and mention also this film and other that are related to this issue of heroes worker, which is important part of the exhibition Bigger Than Myself. So the film I'm mostly relating here is two furnaces for Udarnik Josip Trojko. So he was one of these important hero workers from steel mill in Sisak, Željezara Sisak, as we say in Croatian language. So I think that it's the best if I give now the word to the artists, and then at the end, it would be nice if you send us a question in the your questions in the chat, and then we'll try to answer them together. So, Igor, the floor is yours.
To you at Haru for this great, nice introduction. I'm happy, of course, to be part of this important exhibition, bigger than myself. I had luck to be in Rome, near Rome, in that period when it was opening, so I managed to come also for the opening. The exhibition is really great, important, and politically quite strong and focused. It's not one of these exhibitions who have some kind of exotization of Balkan area, ex-Yugoslavic countries. So I'm happy also to be part of this video program that you invited me to present these 4 films. I'm usually doing short films also, which are part of the bigger projects, with which I'm doing also a photographic series, big research, sometimes also interventions in the public spaces. All this is somehow, or performances, all this is somehow also related to these films which I'm presenting, except the monument. A monument I already created intentionally just to be a film. So on this event, film event in MAXXI regarding the exhibition Bigger Than Myself, I'm going to present 3 short films. This is Angels with Dirty Faces, experimental documentary short, How Steel Was Tempered, animated. Actually, this is a mixture media, which was also presented on Venice Biennial and shown on many animated and experimental film festivals. Work which I created quite a long time ago, East Side Story. It's a double channel film, and I exhibited a lot. It's questioning the human rights topics, actually, concretely, homosexual rights, the rights of the minorities, and the film Monument, which is long, 50 minutes. So in all this film, I'm usually, how to say, want to reflect this traumatic transition which we was experiencing in this area, ex-Yugoslavic area, after the split of the country, after the war of the 90s, and after we had transition from one social system, socialism, toward the new, this, I can say, brutal capitalism. Regarding the film Monument, I was reflecting also the situation which was happening in the 90s. And this is the fact that there during the war and partly after the war, it happened a big crime toward the anti-fascist monuments. It was distracted and demolished lots of bustes, sculptures, monumental plates, and also big monuments, which was, how to say, rise into the air blow up in the air with dynamite. And I wanted to, at the first moment, to create something like a documentary film in which I wanted to interview the theoretician, art historians, and conservators regarding this film, regarding this fact of demolition of anti-fascist monuments. And through the time when I was slowly started to work on this project, I needed, of course, to travel in the nature to face these big, abstract, beautiful, modernistic forms, which you mentioned, Zdenka. And slowly, since it's a long process to film such a long film of 50 minutes, through this slow process of time, when I faced myself in front of these monuments, I slowly started to observing them in a different way. And slowly I abandoned this idea to create interviews with the theoreticians, and I wanted somehow to transfer my experience of facing these monuments again. Since I was, how to say, I was seeing these monuments as a young pioneer in socialism. And I haven't seen them for a really long period since I started to film. And so this, how to say, process of time helped me to observe these monuments now with the new eyes in a different way. And I slowly started to observe them alone in a nature, far away from the crowd, far away from the cities, like they are alive. Somehow I wanted also to show this feeling, to express this feeling, like they are like some kind of monoliths from the Kubrick Odyssey. And I started to think how to express this in this experimental form, experimental documentary form. And I decided that monuments speak about their nowadays, about their everyday life, about their everyday contemplative and meditative life, being alone in nature. And I needed in this way also to create certain kind of approach where I treated every monument as some kind of character, individual, to express his identity. I can say this, how the monuments, this parallel with the living beings was somehow quite present in my mind, because, as I mentioned, I was seeing them very young when I was pioneer, and I had this experience how they've been celebrated once, and now they've been completely abandoned, alone, like older being. And also distracted during this process of the war in the 90s. So it wasn't easy for me to create this narrative, visual narrative, because this film has only visual storytelling. There is no any kind of voiceover. I created everything, narration and telling with the visuals and with the music, and I tried to create this dramaturgy, but following of certain rhythm. It's important to say that this, for me, these monuments places where thousands of people been died and killed in the Second World War, or from certain places thousands of people been transferred to concentration camps. So all these memorial sites are important still nowadays. Even in the war, they've been treated as some kind of part of the socialist ideology, and this was one of the reasons because they've been destroyed. But I think that this anti-fascist part, we need to separate somehow this idea of the symbols of the socialist ideology and the reason why this monument been built. And this is that they are really representing the pure, innocent idea of anti-fascism. I actually wanted somehow to send a message with this film that if you don't respect the monuments, anti-fascist monuments in a certain way, we don't respect also ourselves. Because sooner or later, we or some of close of us will also become a victim. So now I expressed only, mostly focused myself to presentation of the film Monument. But I don't know, is it necessary to express also about the other films? And do we have a time?
I think it's okay, because we have only 45 minutes altogether. So maybe at the end, if there is some time left, you can say something more. But now I would propose that Anja presents her work.
Everybody for inviting me. It's a great honor to be part of this show. And I will try to shortly present the work that is going to be shown in video gallery. And all these films are linked to the border territory where I come from. It's Nova Gorica. I'm from Nova Gorica, that is bordering Gorizia in Italian side. So if you look at my hometown from the sky, it looks like one city. You don't see that there is Italian and Slovene city. But if you look closer, there are not many cities so different from each other than these two Siamese cities. One is 1,000 years old, and the other is just a few decades old. It was built after the border was established in 1947. And it's also the place where two vast territories, cultural and linguistic territories, are meeting, the Slavic and the Romanic world. And plus, in the past, it belonged to two different political systems. So very different cities that also in the last century, this territory was marked with wars and different conflicts. And that's why in this place, the same historical event can represent a very different memory. So this was the challenge that Nadia Velušček, that is my mom and co-author of documentaries we made. The main challenge was how to talk about this territory without slipping into one or the other identity. In a sense, how to make the films that will speak to everybody. And at the same time, being aware that objective history is not existing because the past is territory where nobody can enter. So we decided that we are going to approach this difficult and conflicting past, focusing on everyday life, because the problems of everyday life are the same no matter what identity or nationality or country you belong to. So we were very curious to see how the history enters everyday life, the kitchen and the living room. And we made a vast research of memories of people living on both sides of the border. And we were also curious to see if there might exist a border identity. So these were topics that we were encountering every day. Especially Nadia, she was teaching at the time she was teaching Italian language in Slovene schools, and Slovene language in Italian school. So she was dealing with this challenge, how to make students curious about the identity of the other. So all the films that we are presenting here were kind of made with these questions behind, and the first one is dealing with the memory of First World War. We, at the time, it was late 90s, had a still chance to talk to some very old people that remembered First World War as children. And these were stories of refugees. And the second film is dealing with Second World War, that we were much later in 2017. In the same situation, we only could speak with the ones that remember this period as very young people or children. And of course, if you are making a film about war and that children are remembering it, this is a very anti-war film. And the third film is telling the story of how border was installed in and crossing houses, streets, and even cemeteries in this area, and how and is following the story of my family that, like many other families, have to adapt very quickly to this new restriction, but also to a challenge, because border is never just a dividing line. It's always also a meeting place. So and the fourth film is talking about border in Slavia Friulana, Venetia, that is a different kind of border because of the different history of this region. And it also shows the absurdities that usually borders generate in the space, and especially in these remote valleys, as this Venetia is. And the fifth and sixth film, they are short videos that were made on the basis of public action of collecting memories. And the first action, called Smuggling Confessionary, was organized an evening before the border fences were finally removed when Slovenia entered Schengen area. That was on 21st of December of 2007. And on that night, together with Kino Atelier organization, we invited inhabitants of Gorica and Nova Gorica to come to the crossing border checkpoint, where used to inquire what we have in our bags. Well, this evening they were invited to tell into my camera all the memories and concerning the border, and especially concerning to the smugglings. We were all smuggling small things from Yugoslavia to Italy, and also from Italy to Yugoslavia, and this was almost as a symbolic ritual, a symbolic act, how to purify our smuggling souls before entering the European borderless era. The second public action in the same space, that when the border was abolished, lost its meaning and function. So it became a kind of a meeting place of the citizens of both Goricas. And at that occasion, I invited people to bring, to choose a photo from their memory family album that was took in one or the other town, and tell into my camera the memory that represents. So these are the films that you can see at the video gallery. At the exhibition, there is a film about construction of Nova Gorica, the town on the meadow. What I kind of realized that maybe an archive, similarly like family album or memory album, represents the best the narrative of the past or of the disputed past of the border territory, because doesn't follow one protagonist. In a family album, there are many protagonists, and different realities can coexist with not much problem. So this album is
Anya, we have very short time, so we just try to.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so I will finish. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, this is the project in progress and is going to be presented for future generation. If it's not enough time, I will finish. It's okay?
Okay, so I invite Goran to present his work now, and then hopefully there is some minutes at the end.
On the beginning, I would say thank you to inviting me to this great exhibition. I will show 5 films that are about my hometown. The first one is my student film. It's called Imported Crows. And I noticed that each year in my hometown, my home citizen killed birds in main park in a town with a different way. Once with rifles and guns, second year with climbers and with fire technicians. And during the shooting, we noticed that our neighbors talk about birds with same hate language they use describing Serbs during the last war. So we shot film which are on the surface is documentary comedy, because it's very funny what my home citizens told us about these black birds. And in the second on the second level is a political metaphor about our relationship about other. This other can be our opponent in a war, or European Union, or simply a foreigner. The second film that I will represent here is I Have Nothing Nice to Say to You. It's a war movie, it's a night movie, and movie without any male character. I deliberately chose that I will make a war movie with only female characters. So it's very tough, very sad, and dark movie. I should say it's almost a Russian movie in a way. The third film that I will here present is Two Furnaces for Udarnik Josip Trojka, which is film who is on the border of documentary and experimental movie. So in the picture we follow building of new capitalist furnace in the oldest steel mill industry in former Yugoslavia and in Croatia, in my hometown. And in sound, we put the sound which was made from the beginning of the communism, from the early 50s to the falling of communism in 90s. So the result is very, very unusual. So it's not completely documentary film. It's more experimental for me. The fourth movie is my favorite. It's called Steel Mill Cafe. We followed the last 7 days of one bar, which was held in the neighborhood of biggest steel mill factory in former Yugoslavia. So the steel mill is now abandoned, and there is no customer in this bar. And we shot every conversation that we could during the last 7 days in the bar. And after that, the owners closed the shop and went to Germany. So the formal dream of communist workers in our hometowns is simply represent with a new dream, which is very simple, just to go to Germany and left the country. And the last film that I will show here is On the Water. It's a 1 hour and a half documentary about people who lived close to the Sisak's three rivers. So I was planning to shoot poetic documentary without interviews, and it should be some kind of reflection on my childhood, because me and my father was fishermen when I was younger. But when we started the shoot movie, we shoot another political movie. So the picture is very nice, but stories that we collect are not. So I'm very, very glad that you picked my 5 Sisak movies, because I never screened it together. I didn't shot it with plan or with some concept. I just shoot it once, one of the time, and now I'm very proud and I'm happy that you will screen all together.
Great. Thank you very much. I don't know whether we have questions. Ludovica, can you help us? I can't see no questions. Okay, so we have 2 minutes left. I don't know what to do in these 2 minutes. Probably doesn't make sense to ask you individual questions, but if there is an urgent question among you would like to pose to each other, please go on. I know that you don't know, for example, Igor and Goran. I'm sure you know each other, but with Anya, you don't know. So it's probably interesting that you can meet and talk about your films now. Anya, you wanted to say something?
No. I hope that we will have the chance to also meet in person, because this unlucky situation with COVID is. But yeah, I'm really curious to see your work, and maybe I can add what I didn't finish before. Is that okay? I just wanted to say that growing up in Nova Gorica, where in 5 minutes, when I was growing up, it was still Yugoslavia, you could enter in totally different world. We kind of learned that there is possible to that different realities can coexist. So that things cannot be only one way or the other, but that they can perfectly coexist at the same time. And so our idea was not to abolish the border, but to try to add a common space into the dividing line of the border. So that was kind of the idea and the try that we were trying to do with our work.
I think nice conclusion. I think Anja's films have a special importance for Italian audience also. With this exhibition, I try at least in some of its segments to relate also to the neighborhood, to the neighboring country, Italy, Slovenia, Yugoslavia, and the stories that your films, Anja, talk about. It was, at least in times of socialism, for us, a kind of promised land, at least, you know, the neighboring cities in North Italy, like Trieste and Gorizia. So it is, of course, important, at least for me as a curator, to the exhibitions that I curate also bring awareness about the context where the exhibition is presented. So Rome is a little bit far from Gorizia, but still. Okay, so thank you very much. I think it was extremely interesting presentation of your films, and I'm sure there will be a lot of interest for this program, and I will use this opportunity to invite, I don't know how many we have here, I can't see how many people we have, but yeah, please come and see the film. So, bye-bye, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye to all of you. Ciao.
Ciao.